Hi friends, welcome to Story Shots with Rajeev. I'm your storyteller who comes every single time with some interesting short story. You know, short stories have got some kind of a connection, and today's short story is about a foolish king. Once upon a time, there was a foolish king. He very strongly believed that he was the most clever man in the entire kingdom. Every now and then, quite frequently in his palace, he used to play tricks and try out some smart moves in front of his ministers. And as expectedly, all the ministers used to applaud him. And he felt pampered and he used to fly in the air that I am the most clever and the smartest man. And nobody can out-trick me is what this king believed. But one fine day, a thought struck his mind. What if there is someone in my kingdom who is more smart than me, more clever than me? The very next day in his palace, he announced to all his ministers, Ministers, go out in the entire kingdom and find that one man whom you think is more clever, more wise, more smart than me. Bring him in front of me in this palace, and I, your smart king, shall test him. And if I end up beating him in that contest, that man shall be my slave for the rest of his life. Ministers listened to this order. They said, Yes, your majesty. And they rode out. And they were riding throughout the kingdom in search of a wiser man. Wiser as compared to the king. Did they find any? Oh yes, they found many wise men. But all those wise men in the entire kingdom, they were wise and smart enough to understand that the king's challenge had got a catch. If you compete with the king, there are quite bright chances that you can actually end up in the king's jail. So they politely, thank you sir, but we would like to decline the king's offer. Sorry. Now the entire day had passed. They hadn't found a single man who was wise and who was ready to accept the king's challenge. But they couldn't afford to go empty-handed before the king as well. And at that point of time, they were close to the border of that kingdom, near a remote village. So they decided among themselves, why not we spend the night in this village? So they moved ahead and they observed that all the people in that village were very poor. Mainly because all the cultivated land in that village belonged to that foolish king, who used to charge a hefty tax from the villagers. And eventually, despite working very hard throughout the year, they were left with hardly any money. But nevertheless, even though they were poor, but they were very hospitable towards the ministers and the king's men. Rather late in the evening, they set up a bonfire in the middle of the village with the king's ministers and men and all the villagers surrounding that place. There were a lot of entertainment, song, music, a lot of food being served to the guests, and there were a lot of games, intelligent games. At that point of time, there was one man who caught the attention of the ministers. They observed him closely. He appeared to be really wise among all the villagers. They approached him. That man's name was Vonik. Now the ministers and the king's men told about the king's challenge to Vonik. Initially he was reluctant. But later on, after giving a thought, he said yes. And the ministers were, you're ready? He said, yeah, but on one condition. I will not take my coat and hat. Minister says, come on, Vonik. It's gonna be you have to go to meet the king. It will be so impolite and rude if you go without your coat and hat. He said, nothing doing. If you want to take me before the king, take me the way I am. That's my condition. They said, okay, fine. Please come. And the next day, all of them landed before the king. Now the king sees Vonik. So you're that wise man who has been tricking people in my kingdom. And you have the confidence to challenge me? But dare not. Beware. I give you an option to back out. Because there is no condition that you can actually beat a smart king like me. Vonik replied, Actually, Your Majesty, I am afraid of the same. Actually, what happened was, in my hurry to come over here, I couldn't think and ponder over this thought calmly. And in all that anxiety and in such a hurry, I actually ended up forgetting my coat, my hat, and most importantly, my tools with which I trick people. Now the king saw him. You use tools to trick people? He said, yeah. So why don't you go to your home and get them over here? He said, but my king, I'll need 100 carts and 100 horses to pull those carts, and I'll go to my village and it'll take me close to 6 months before I can pick up all the tools, put them on the cart and come back to you. He said, okay, go to my stable and your wish is granted. Whatever you want, please take. And Vanek rushed to the stable, selected all the 100 carts and the strongest of horses. And while he was leaving towards his village, he asked the king, my king, you have said that if I lose, I become your slave. But what if I win? Now the king laughed and laughed. You fool! You dream of beating a king like me, a wise, strong, clever king like me? Not possible. But okay, just for the competition's sake, if you end up winning, I'll grant you any wish you desire. Vanek looked at the king and said, sir, if that happens, I would want anything from you which you have never ever used. King thought for a moment and said, okay. And Vanek rushed from there and reached his village. Once he reached the village, you know what did he do? Those 100 carts pulled by strong 100 horses, he distributed among the villagers. And for the next 6 months, they were able to plow their field, sow a crop, reap the crop, and there was abundance of grains. And their grain stores were full. They sold all their produce and had a lot of money. Now 6 months had passed. It was time to go to the palace. So what Vanek did was, he collected a lot of empty wine boxes and put them on the cart and went to the palace. Once he entered the palace, king saw him and was about to welcome him. Just then, king's pet dog started barking. Bow wow! But Vanek, being the wise, smart man, he was calm as a cucumber. He was very kind to the dog. He showed him all the love, and in some time the dog calmed down. But just then, Vanek put his ear near the dog's mouth and screamed, my king! My king! Your dog has got special powers! He can talk to the man! King was surprised. And you know what? Just now your dog has told me that my wife, my beloved wife, out there in the village is severely ill. Please, please, I beg you, please give me your best horse so that I can ride fast to my village, attend to my ailing wife and then come back. King said, okay, your wish is granted. And Vanek was riding the king's best stallion. He reached his home. And after reaching there, you know what did he do? He sold that black stallion. Yes. And instead, bought himself a black donkey. And he lazily rode to the palace. And he reached. And as soon as the king saw him, he was furious. What the hell? I gave you a strong horse and you come back on a donkey? Where the hell is my horse? Now Vanek kept looking at the king and he said, my king, I was equally shocked. Why did you not tell me even your horse possesses magical powers? You know what happened? While I was riding that horse, in the middle of the journey, your horse transformed from a horse to a donkey. And eventually I had to ride the remaining journey on a donkey. I reached home. Thankfully my wife is safe. And I took a lot of time to come back. But your animals, your dog has got magical powers. He can talk to a man. Your horse can transform itself into a donkey. You are great, my king. You are great. Now even the king was left awestruck and confused. But the king said, wait, relax, Sonic. Your wife is okay? Yes, sir. All your tools are over here? Yes, sir. Forget about everything. Relax. And now immediately let's start the trick game. Your Majesty, before we start the trick game, can I ask you a question, please? Okay, ask. Shoot. Sir, you are such a wise king. You are such a clever man. When you test people, when you show your tricks to people, have you ever used any kind of tools to trick people? He said, no. To trick people, to outsmart them, why would you need tools? God has given you brains. You should use your smartness, your intelligence. Exactly, my king. It's the intelligence, it's the smartness in the brain we use to outsmart people, not the tools. So that was a trick which I tried and I was successful. You believed my trick that I used tools to trick people. King was caught. He thought and he said, okay, Your Majesty, please can I ask you a second question? The king reluctantly. Your Majesty, please can I ask you a second question? The king reluctantly replied, okay, go ahead. I would like to know how many times your beloved dog, Bow Wow, he barks, has spoken to you. And if you could please tell me till date what all your dog has told you. My dog only barks. It doesn't speak to people. And my dog has never ever spoken to me. When I wondered when you said that my dog actually spoke to you about your ailing wife. I beg your pardon, my king. That was my second trick. And I actually ended up outsmarting you because your dog only barked Bow Wow in my ear. And I tried all my energies to calm the dog down. And I think I was successful in outsmarting you in my second trick also. The king softly said, okay. And if I may ask you my third question about your black, strong, best horse, the stallion. Could you tell me how many times your black favorite horse has shown its magical powers of transforming itself from a horse to a donkey? Please. King said, never ever. That's a stallion horse. And I'm still in disbelief. You say that my horse transformed into a donkey. My king, that's my third trick. My king, I just replaced your black strong horse with this black donkey. And eventually I have out-tricked and outsmarted you in this palace in front of all the people and the ministers 3 times. So I think I have won. The king had no clue, nothing he could say other than, yes, you have outsmarted me, you win. And he rejoiced and he was very happy. And my king, since I have won, can I get my reward? As you had promised, I could take anything from you which you have never ever used. The king said, yes, please ask. My master, I would like to have your head. Bang! There was stunned silence in the palace. King froze. Initially he was furious, but just then he looked at all the people in the palace. And since the king himself had promised in front of the entire public, he could not go back on his words as well. He had to keep his promise. He started panicking. He was sweating profusely. He was trembling with fear. Just then, Phoenix said, my king, you are our ruler. You are our leader. We all need you as our leader. So in that case, we all need your head right where it is right now. So you can alternatively give me something else. King readily said, Jaya, please ask me whatever you want and it shall be granted. My king, all I need from you is the entire land in and around our village. It should be given to us, the villagers. We all should be made the owners of that land. We should have full rights to grow a crop, do farming, and to keep entire money which we earn after selling our crop. And also, we should not be made to pay taxes. Granted, granted, granted! And a happy Vonek went back to his village, and all the villagers along with Vonek became richer, became prosperous, and lived happily ever after. You know, friends, the moral of the story is anyone who thinks that they are over smart, most of the times they are actually fools, foolish people. And if someone thinks that they are wise, but actually they are not, they are worse than fools. You know, I had great fun reading this story and tremendous enjoyment narrating it to you people and sharing it with you. So I hope you equally enjoyed it. Please do give me your feedback in the comment section below. Please do type in right and let me know how did you enjoy this a short story today about this foolish king. And also please feel free to share your inputs about the kind of stories you want me to bring to you. Also don't forget to subscribe the channel. Until next time, please take very good care of yourself and all your loved ones. For today, this is your storyteller Rajeev riding off.